Hello everyone, welcome back.
Hi everyone.
And hello to everyone who's new. We're happy that you found us. This is the Mystical Wheel series where we discuss and discover together the signs of the zodiac. My name is Jenny.
My name is Federico.
We're here today at a very beautiful spot that we found. We felt a call to sit by the water, and there's a beautiful river flowing by.
There you see it.
There's beautiful nature all around. I feel a very calm presence today. And we are also here to discuss the next sign, that is Cancer. So anyone who's interested in following this kind of as a evolutionary journey of the soul and understanding the starting point, we have 3 other videos that I invite you to watch on Aries, on Taurus, and on Gemini. But it's also totally fine to jump into any sign, any energy that calls you in the moment. And there's also something really interesting, because I actually read while studying a little bit about Cancer that some cultures also saw it as the first zodiac sign. And also with its kind of deep meaning of birth, or its relation to birth. It sometimes also takes the place as the first zodiac sign. So we could also see the story starting from this moment. It kind of depends on which story are we referencing. It's like, there's a circle, 360 degrees. So where's the starting point of the circle? You just got to choose, and then that's going to be your beginning perspective.
Yeah. The starting point is going to tell a different story, but anyway, any place can be the starting point because the story just it's going to move.
Yeah, so maybe we get into a little bit of the general facts about Cancer for anyone who doesn't have so much foundational knowledge, and then we can dive into our more esoteric insights. But Cancer is a cardinal sign. So do you want to remind people what that means?
A cardinal sign is an starting point, is initiation, is from tropical system, from the system that is connected to the physical experience here on the planet Earth, the beginning of a season. That is Cancer here in the North Hemisphere, the beginning of summer, the South, the beginning of winter. It's an energy that brings the potential of the seed, of what is about to come. And we have 3 cardinal signs. Cancer is the second one. We see it.
We have 4 cardinal signs.
We have 4 cardinal signs.
We have a cardinal cross, actually, that is quite relevant, but I'm going to get to that later.
So Cancer is the second one. If we see it from the perspective of Aries being the first sign, or the first one if we see it from the perspective of Cancer being the first beginning moment.
So we have a cardinal energy, which is an initiating, it's a beginning, something new, emerging. We also have the 4th element that we had, fire with Aries, earth with Taurus, air with Gemini, and now comes water. So this is also, kind of it's an initiation of one energy, and at the same time a closing of a sequence. Then the next fire sequence starts then with Leo. But so Cancer has a lot of water energy. It's actually the first time that this water energy is being introduced on the cycle, on the journey of the zodiac.
He is the dwell, the quell, the manantial, that first impression that we have in life for nourishment to be. We come from a movement of arriving, which will be Aries, then finding out where we are. What is this being sensed like? Yeah, what is this gravity that makes us be where we are? Then with Gemini, we just have an idea. Yeah, we have this connection with the mind and duality of what is being here. But then when we get into the first water, Cancer, we find out that for life to be, we need somewhere to nourish with. And that is Cancer. That first contact with the physical source that is required for continuity to be into life.
So we can think about water, and we're at water here right now, so we have the water very present. And think about, what does that water bring? What kind of quality does that water have? And to me, it's very much the notion of something that is flowing and kind of flowing together with something else. To me, water is actually oftentimes like in relation to the earth, and in relation to the sky, like as a cloud. And it's in relation to fire as it saves all of that heat energy. So it's like water is always in like a kind of a sensing its surroundings and co-creating with it and flowing. It's this kind of never stopping energy. I mean, I guess if we take Earth, for example, Earth feels much more still in the sense of it can stop moving, but it really depends on which layer are we looking at here. Because if we go to the molecular levels, I'm sure, or even the quantum levels, I'm sure that things are, I mean, they're always vibrating, so that it's never still. And water can be still, and if you think of like an ocean, but even the ocean, like on the surface, there will always be some kind of wave movement. So it's more like, kind of never standing still. And to me, that represents a lot of this life energy, of this birth and this creative force. Because it's like once you're initiated into this world, once you're born, once your body's born as a baby, it never stops. You never stop moving and changing. Your cells never stop renewing themselves. Your blood never stops pumping. Your blood never stops flowing, and you never stop breathing. And it's this kind of, movement. Would you agree, or do you feel something different?
No, I completely feel that in life. We come to tell.
I'm just feeling like my Gemini, my Gemini emotional center, my moon, and sometimes I just go really deep into explaining why I feel a certain way about something, and simultaneously I kind of then also see the complete opposite perspective. So now I'm like, but actually water is also stillness and this and that. So I think I just noticed that.
But in the movement of the zodiac wheel, anyway.
Not sure if I agree anymore to what.
Yeah, but one perspective or the other in the dynamic of the zodiac wheel makes sense, because Cancer comes after Gemini. Yeah, so we can tell, like, looks like things are like this or like that. Yeah, if I identify myself with an idea, then this idea can be nourished for things to keep going, to develop something else beyond the ethereal realm that it requires of materialization for things to really evolve.
So I have read some interesting things while studying a little more about Cancer, because we typically associate Cancer with the crab, but it's not. I'm not completely sure where that came from. I think this concept of the crab was kind of introduced at a later point in time, because the star constellation that is connected with Cancer is not actually the crab constellation. it has much more to do with I mean, there's a lot of theories about like astrological connections and like for example Christian historical moments, facts from like events of the stories that were being told. I'm not sure how this is with other religions, like if there's other things in like Hinduism, Buddhism, or other like African religions, because I didn't grow up with them. So Christianism is just where a lot of my like, I don't know, I have more knowledge about it. But yeah, there are some connections to, for example, certain words that were used to describe events taking place, such as the manger, where the baby child Jesus was born. And actually the manger is one of the constellations inside of the Cancer constellation. It's one of the stars, or you know, it's a point there. And that is actually much more connected to the Cancer zodiac sign. But I think a lot of these things were then later kind of manipulated and changed and altered by the like how Christianity evolved, and how the religion as a institution wanted to kind of take hold of the narratives and wanted to just decide when things were happening. So they also, there's lots of theories saying that Cancer and the actual constellation in the sky correlates much closer with the birth moment in the story of Jesus Christ's birth than when people now say that it is on the 24th of December, which doesn't really make a lot of sense for many reasons. It's just kind of like was then named to be the date. Yeah, and also so there's this Cancer constellation in the sky, and it's also kind of related to the summer solstice. So Cancer is the beginning of summer, and that is also because the summer solstice is marking the beginning of summer in our calendar. And then 6 months later in Capricorn, we have kind of the winter solstice. And both of these solstice moments are also described as like gates of the sun, where people believed, or some still believe, I still believe it, that these kind of gates are moments where consciousness came down to the earth and then 6 months later rose back onto the heaven. And that's also where some of these like biblical associations and like metaphors come from. So anyways, we have this kind of Cancer as a birth totem, and not only from the sense of water birthing creativity and also life, kind of like infusing everything with a certain ability to live, like we have to drink water every day. But yeah, it also connects with these astronomical points that also kind of have to do with the sun and connect to much older philosophical concepts from really ancient times, from like Mesopotamian times and Babylonian times and ancient Kemetic beliefs. Did you know that?
Yeah. There is this connection with the Chaldeans and with pre-Platonic studies that recognize actually Cancer as the beginning point for a physical embodiment to be really a physical embodiment. Because it's the fourth sign. It's like this cycle already has been reached, in which we can tell that there is something that needs to be, because it's taking form. But now this something really needs to recognize that it wants to be, So what is needed for it wants to be? Well, it needs of something to nourish it, So from that perspective, that is like the base for most of the perspectives that we consider nowadays, is that in Cancer, the form is coming from the soul. Like the soul is saying, like, I have a shape, and for this shape to continue being, I need of some things, And then Capricorn is right in front, So it's like
right in front, you mean across.
across Cancer. So it's the moment of culmination, yeah, of that forum that need to be nourished, and that now it's becoming into something more connected to coming back somewhere. So from there, like the Christian belief, yeah, that is in the 24th of December in which Jesus was born, is actually that connection metaphysical of like it coming back, yeah, from the to the source, yeah. In Cancer is coming from the source, yeah, and in Capricorn is coming back to the source, yeah, and that is how actually it is believed, and it is being within the traditions in the South continents, yeah, like the celebration of the Inti Raymi in South America, connected with the Inca, with the Muisca traditions, is the beginning, yeah, is the starting point, because things now we can tell are here.
Yeah, I also it kind of connects with another ancient symbol for that beginning moment of like this earth realm experience coming from the turtle. And that was actually one of the symbols that I think in the Mesopotamian culture they used that to describe Cancer, the Cancer zodiac. So it was the turtle. And the turtle is seen as a very ancient body. It's also one of the animals, I think, that live like the longest life of like on Earth, of animals that we know. And I think it's considered to be also one of the oldest existing animals that is like in its form as it is now has been existing. So it generally is a symbol for being old. Being old and also being wise, you know, like having a good memory, being wise and very connected to the earth. And I think there are even some, isn't there like the science fiction story where something like the world is like built on top of the back of a turtle, or was that the back of a whale or something?
Well, that can be a science fiction story, like I'm sure that maybe.
I'm sure there's something like this exists. I might be confusing the animals. I did not read the book myself, but please let us know if you have read these books and if you know what I could be thinking of.
For native North American traditions, the actual name of the continent is the Turtle Island, yeah, because we come from the turtle that emerged from other realms to bring a place for humans and other experiences to be, from the back. And of course, science fiction stories develop from there, but it's an actual root.
Yeah. So Cancer is really deeply connected to the moment of birth. It's kind of the moment where this consciousness that has been already journeying through 3 different energies is now reaching a new point in consciousness where it's really taking this dual aspect and birthing it, unifying it into matter, into mass. It's also called a mass sign because it relates to mass and to matter. And with that earthly experience also then come all of the earthly things that are also deeply connected to Cancer, such as instincts. But I also wanted to mention, I actually forgot now what I wanted to mention. I don't know what's happening in my brain today, but yeah. Because even though Cancer as a crab may not have been like the initial symbol, I do believe that things that are kind of connected and combined at a later point in time, even if it's kind of like a manipulation of the original meaning, does in itself have a valid meaning also. Because it's a connection between the metaphorical, the philosophical, the psychic realm and symbolism through the unconscious. Sometimes then it rises up through the consciousness, and it's a consciously made connection. But even if it's made unconsciously, it's a connection being made, and to me that always has a validity in itself, just simply for revealing itself, being witnessed. So also the fact that then later, I don't know, for example, Jesus' birth was assigned to be the 24th of December, I think that also has a valid significance in itself, maybe just from a very different approach, but that's a topic for another video. But if we look at the crab and we notice, first of all, a parallel, like similarity to the turtle, is that both of these animals kind of carry their homes on their backs with them, or like around their whole bodies, not just the back, but like literally the front too. So they kind of represent this feeling of home, the sense of home, the topic of home, but also they need that home to kind of be protected and feel protected. Otherwise, they, show a great sense of vulnerability. And also when kind of contracting into that home, it's gonna be this sense of being hidden from the world, of kind of like pulling yourself away inside. But something that is different between the crab and the turtle is that the crab moves side to side. So crabs don't move forwards with their legs, they move sideways. And that's interesting. And to me, that's an interesting thing to note about Cancer and what that connection could mean. And I think it's a beautiful way to look at it as Cancer sometimes needing that side to side connection. And also being, if we consider kind of the experience of different dimensions as being vertical and horizontal, and the vertical experience being connected to like different realms, different dimensions, moving up in like higher dimensions, but also connecting more to the stars, to the planets. The horizontal dimension would be more looking around what is here on Earth, on the planet that we are in, and kind of exploring the experience on that horizontal plane. So exploring really this earthly experience for the first time. Even though Taurus is the body, Taurus is more about form, things placing themselves into form. And then Cancer is kind of about that birthing of giving that form a place to be in, like a home, or also a family. Because we're all born into a family, even if we're not connected with our families, like with our birth parents, we do have two birth parents.
There is a psychological continuous conception of what is to be part of somewhere, of someone's, of a unity, which is Cancer's vulnerability that makes its expressions to be so hidden sometimes, because it's so vulnerable at knowing that makes part of something, that it requires of recognizing itself within a place that allows it to be recognized. So it's this quality of being so sensitive, that if it's not within its home, within its shell, then it can feel anything as home, and it can get confused, because any relationship, any way of interaction, feels very much part of home.
That's interesting that you use the word confused. It gives me a kind of a negative ring, but it can also be seen positive if we use that confusion to, for the first time, realize something outside of our norm. It may lead to some confusion. And I think what you said is both a challenge, but also a maybe even an intention that Cancer energy brings with it. So it's both the challenge of being able to maintain your home, your sense of home, but also the challenge of allowing yourself to be vulnerable in order to actually also be present and connect more deeply and connect more truly with what is there, with what is around, with your family, with your community, and your actual homes.
And Cancer or any energy needs to keep moving, yeah, within this human experience, yeah. So for Cancer to be really Cancer, it just needs to reconsider the fact that it comes from somewhere and needs to go somewhere else. And for it needs to tell itself who actually Cancer is, like who I am, yeah, from where do I come from, yeah, what is my desire, so I can go into developing myself into a unity that recognizes what actually home is, what actually a family is.
That's interesting. That kind of brings me to another aspect of Cancer, which is connected to something we mentioned earlier, which is the star constellation and the constellation of the Manger. It actually has a new modern name.
The star.
Yeah, the star. It actually has a new, I'm not sure if it's one star or if it's a tiny constellation within a bigger constellation. It might be a star. Makes more sense. But it has a modern name. Like modern astronomers gave it a new name. It's not only called a Manger, it's also called the Beehive, apparently.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because the Beehive, as I know it, is often used as a term also now by modern society to kind of describe this kind of like social hub, this kind of like, co-working, very social networking space where a lot of people like buzz together and have like buzzing ideas, because we know how bees are really great at building their communities, and they're super committed like to having their roles and contributing their part. And so what this shows us is that this Cancer energy and the symbolism reminds us of this kind of hive awareness that also comes through mass. So for example, I'm birthed into my body and I'm in my body now, and while I identify myself through this body, actually this body consists of a lot of little different separate parts, like cells and organs, and they're all kind of working together, and a lot of that happens subconsciously. I don't always consciously think, I don't tell all of my cells what to do in a conscious way. And we can learn to do that more consciously, which can allow us to heal ourselves and really have a better connection with our bodies. But what I'm trying to say is that each of these cells and each of these parts in my body, they need to know what they are here for. Like, they need to identify themselves with something in order to know what their job is, in order to do their task, so that everything can be done in a way that then together creates this beautiful, perfectly working, harmonious expression. And I feel like that connects to what you just said about identity of the home. And then that influences how you relate in your home and to your home.
I have the feeling that self-sustainability is something that really composes the essence of Cancer, because it's I'm part of something. This something is composed of many parts as well, but by being part of something, there is like an organization that allows this something to be. Yeah. For the ancient Hebrew cosmovision, Cancer was seen as a coffin, a place in which things are gathered together, and we just know what is in there, that coffin.
They actually didn't even have a word for crab, because they didn't have words sometimes for things that were considered somehow unholy or dirty or something.
Yeah.
I think that's why the crabs were for them considered not, how to say it, like, clean enough, and they didn't give it a word. I'm not sure. I have not fact checked this, but I did read it in an astrology book.
Yeah, but in the psychological realm, the name does not really represent the essence of what experience is. Yeah. So we can also see it within Christianity again, that one of the main expressions that is given is that Cancer is the grave of Lazarus. Yeah, and Lazarus comes back from death. Yeah, so it's the place in which we can tell that something is, so it can become into something else because we can tell what it's composed of. Yeah, so is like, yeah, it can be like so many things. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, death and birth are kind of two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a meme online, a picture that was related to this topic. It was like a caricature of someone dying in their deathbed, and then they have this like family standing around them, mourning, really sad, saying goodbye to their beloved, which was also held in like this black and white mood. And then directly next to that, in this like golden shining light, there was the spirit of this person, and then all of this other like spirit family of like other people who had already died previously. And the words written there were, when we say goodbye, someone else says hello again, or like our loss is someone else's reunion, or something like that. And that's what this image was expressing, is that things are just kind of moving through a portal from one side to the other, and death is also a birth or a rebirth. And I feel that birth is still. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was thinking from the conception of what birth can be, from a biological, physical experience that everyone has, and is looking to the moon. Yeah, we can tell when it's in which phase. Yeah, but the matter is that the moon has the same diameter than the sun from the Earth experience, and because it's shining from the sun, somehow we can tell that the moon is the sun as well. Yeah, because it's reflecting the energy. So it's the portal for the sun to continue being. Yeah, it's like the womb for us to see the light that is coming anyway from the sun, but through the womb, to the reflection that the moon is for the sun to be experienced anyway. Yeah, so it's like a revert.
Okay, so I'm not sure if I understood this correctly, but what I caught from what you just said is that when the sun says goodbye to us, kind of at the end of the day, and we don't see it anymore, then the moon says hello to it, and we can still see that sun and that light of the sun, but it is now coming through a different form to us, so it's also kind of being birthed in a different way into our consciousness.
Yes.
Yeah. We haven't talked about the moon yet, and that's a really good point to bring it in, because we have one of the main themes for this energy is water, and we know that all water on Earth is influenced by the moon's magnetic pull and gravitational force, and by how the moon moves around. So this is how we get the tides, but this is also how we may get things that are kind of connected with water as a essence and as a philosophical concept and as a soul experience, which is connected to emotions. So we also feel a flux of emotions, and we do also feel this with the moon. If you connect with the moon more and more, you may be able to notice this in your own life. And yeah, the moon is really kind of impacting this energy a lot. So it's an energy that is, as we mentioned in the beginning, is quite in movement all the time. So the energy itself of Cancer is very fluctuating.
Yeah.
And I think people who have really dominant Cancer energy noticeable in their experience know how this feels. It's kind of like, they call Cancer energy moody energy. And I do think that moodiness is just kind of a fluctuation. Yeah, and this is also something completely normal and something completely fine. The moon's also not like moody, it just exists. It's just there. No one's complaining about the moon being there or not there, because we have come to accept the fact that that's how it is. And with people, we still have a lot more expectations of how they should be. So we put a lot more emotions onto terms or like observations. But yeah, also the moon is kind of connected with this mother archetype, yeah? And this motherly energy that is the energy of a caretaker in the home, yeah? And this can be a man or a woman or a non-binary person to embody motherly energy, but what we mean is a caretaker energy, yeah? A primary caretaker, one who is able to really nourish even through the body, as a human nourishes its child with milk that is produced in the body. It also really represents this abundance of life, this abundance that is there. And as we see by the moon, sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. We see that through the seasons and through the cycle of how something grows and then it fruits and then it withers and the seed fall, and it's a cyclical pattern. But so Cancer also really brings that abundance, but that abundance in flux, in fluctuation.
And is that fluctuation what allows the experience to be connected to something? Yeah, so we can tell that actually we are into something. Yeah, like we are part of a project, we are part of something that we feel really close to because it makes us feel at home. Yeah, and we can conceive home in many ways. Yeah, that is the mere fact of knowing that from somewhere things are moving. Yeah, and because of this movement we can tell how we actually require to keep moving. And it's just that fluctuation, yeah, with which connects the symbol of Cancer, the actual drawing, this is the actual symbol, with the connection of the Ouroboros. Because
so the Ouroboros is a snake eating its own tail.
Yeah. But it's also giving like that cyclicity, a place to keep being.
I mean, to me, it also the Cancer symbol, and we'll put it in somewhere in the thumbnail of the video so you can see it. But it also looks like the yin and yang symbol, and that to me is again this kind of duality that also we notice, that we experience in Gemini, is now brought into form, is being birthed into form. And I also love that recently in a workshop that we gave, someone mentioned this kind of 6-9 and related it to a little bit of a sexual connotation of like practices that people do. And I also think that was actually a great input, because to me that's what it's that sexual alchemy of bringing two forces together that then have the ability to birth life, an actual life, and a metaphorical life as well, a vibrancy, a love. a project.
So I propose that we take this energy into seeing how is it biologically, like in an ecosystem, like by being here right now. The energy of Cancer, if you want, close your eyes, yeah, is as being around a river or a lake and sensing how so many different insects, birds are gathering around this water. Yeah, the practices of their life are moving around this coil of water. Anything that may happen in the life of each being is gonna come back to this water source because it needs of this water to keep being live. So it's a continuous life cycle from the same source, which here right now with us is this river. So many things happening around this river, even the way in which towns are structured around rivers, around water, because it's required for life to be. Yeah, if we want the food to grow, if we want a civilization to develop, water needs to be in the center. Any other way, other ways can happen.
Not only that, water is not only a bringer of life, water is also a bringer of information.
Yeah.
I mean, life information, kind of the same thing. DNA is also information. But water also has the capacity to store information.
Indeed.
So even like water, or for example ice, when scientists examine like ice from like the Arctic regions to kind of look at the components and find out things about like thousands of years ago, about the biology then and there. It's oftentimes this water that gives us a lot of insight. And I feel like this storing of information, of emotions, is also something that is, typical or archetypical for this Cancer energy.
Yeah.
And being able to store a lot of information and being able to hold a lot within your emotional system. We still have water as a archetype representing the emotional realm.
Yes.
So not only the mental, not only like air and logic and thinking, but really a different way of experiencing that is not thinking, but more of a sensing, more of a feeling, more of a knowing. And also because of that, Cancer energy is very, very intuitive. It's very sensitive. It's very like extrasensorial, I would even say. Very psychic energy, a very kind of knowing things, not being interested in checking them, like fact checking things, not being interested in the factual side, because you're more interested in a very physical experience and being interested in how something feels actually. And that being also kind of a compass, a guide for this energy to notice, is this my home? Is this not my home? Do I need to go into my shell? Do I need to go out? Is this a full moon? Is this a new moon? What is going on right now? Sensing in the body and going back into the body and checking in with your body and sensing. So I feel like a great way to connect to Cancer energy would obviously be like meditating with water, but also just, once a day, just take a moment to check in with your body. Close your eyes and go inwards and just see how each of your body parts feel. You can take this kind of into a journey exploring even how do your organs feel, how does my brain feel, how do my blood cells feel or you can keep it more connected to your limbs or your chakras. You can be very intuitive with what suits you. But I think that's a great way to connect back to that experience.
Yeah.
And then combining that with trust, because I do think that we have lived in times, I mean, me and this generation have lived in times where we have a lot of focus on the intellectual realm and the intellectual way of seeing and experiencing. And we sometimes tend to give that more value. And I do think there is now kind of like a wave coming of emotions, bringing people, reminding people back over to this other side that exists, and demanding for those two forces to be, you know, like the Cancer symbol.
Yeah.
To be
impulsing each other.
Yeah, constantly trying to understand the place of the other, and then moving and like keep understanding other points of view through feeling.
It's cooperation.
Yeah. Co-creation.
Yeah, co-creation.
But it's also a justice. It's a justice that occurs through balance. And I believe that that justice is also what we kind of sometimes call love. When we don't think of love as this like romantic image of like being with someone forever, or needing someone, or we often have love actually in this like skewed image where it's more like a codependency or like a dependent love, like a conditional love, that's the word, where it's kind of a love but it's kind of connected to these conditions. And this unconditional love, that is more, maybe a bit less romantic in the traditional sense, but it's that love that is actually justice, because it allows unconditional love to actually be given to something that is different to yourself, by understanding and having compassion, having empathy. That doesn't always mean like complying. It just means letting be. And being able to kind of sense the deeper truth of the like first impression, or of the instinct. You know, the deeper truth. Maybe we want to talk about these the notion of instinct and intuition and the intellect, because this is one of the key points that was brought up through a book that we're reading, which is called The Labors of Hercules by Alice Bailey, which is a beautiful way exploring the astrological journey through mythology, but specifically it's the mythology of the Greek mythology, the tale of Hercules, and how Hercules goes through 12 labors to be initiated into all of these stages of the soul. And Alice Bailey describes beautifully in her book how kind of the way that we perceive life by the instinct, the intellect, and the intuition, they're all kind of necessary to listen to each other, because if we only have one of them kind of controlling our behaviors and our conclusions, we won't get the full picture, the truthful picture.
Indeed. And what is depicted in mythology when we talk about evolution between instinct and intuition is this deep sense of a spontaneous recognition of how truth is, of how reality is. And we don't have to dwell around just to find out what this means, but that we are so connected, with being present, that it is spontaneous to recognize truth as it is. But of course, in the middle part, because that's what allows in this human experience instinct to become into intuition, often is the intellect, yeah, but not as a separate thing, but the intellect as a tool to see in between, to go beyond just the visible, to go into the subtext, so that we can just breathe and simply tell.
Yeah, I feel like the kind of main message here about the intuition and the instinct and the intellect is kind of coming back to the beginning, that Cancer is our initiation into the realm of mass, of matter, and of the physical experience, of the physical home, of the physical body, of the physical planet, and of birth, of being birthed. And that also brings with it a set of challenges, which is we have different levels of guidance. So we have an instinctual level that is kind of the animalistic level of perceiving, where we are able to survive essentially because we have that ability to react super fast to something. Even if we don't see it coming, it's often a subconscious thing, like some seconds before you already move out of the way. But what we do experience is with this sign, initially we also want to birth our consciousness as a human consciousness. And to do that, we need to also kind of rise above only the instinct level, which is why we also have different ways of perceiving. We also have an intellect, which is a gift that we can use to distinguish and discern, because sometimes our instinct is not adapted to a modern way of living, for example, or our first instinct may not always be correct. For some people it is. I think that depends on your bigger energetic blueprint. But someone made a podcast I listened to, the Know Thyself podcast, is a beautiful podcast exploring lots of occult topics. They brought an example of like a garden hose, where you walk and then you see something rustling, and then you just see something and you like jump away. You think it's a snake, and your body still has that instinct because it's like danger, okay. But actually, you look closer and you see it's just a water hose, a garden hose. It's not a snake at all. It actually hasn't even been moving, or just like the wind moved it. And it's for those moments that we have our intellect being able to tell us if our instincts are correct or not.
Yep.
Yeah, but then also our intellect sometimes is very influenced, very biased, and also limited in a certain way, because there are things that we're not quite able to understand. That doesn't make them less true. So that's where we add in another layer of discernment, which is then intuition.
Yeah.
And it's the combination of those three that is kind of rising our consciousness higher. And that's another aspect of the Cancer challenge, is to invite that higher awareness, that higher intuition into the physical experience, into the earthly experience. And also this home, home is where the heart is.
Yeah.
Why do we say that slogan? Why is it so popular? Because it speaks so deeply to a universal truth, which is the heart. Yeah. The heart and love that comes from the heart is the home that we have here as the human experience. I don't know how it is in other dimensions, or other lives, like I don't know, other bodies, but the human bodies, we do have love
Yeah.
and caretaking
Yeah.
and nurture as really essential survival aspects.
And that's why one of the expressions of Cancer, is that tenderness, that makes us want to keep feeling it, because instinct has developed through emotional reactions to the point in which we can tell that we like it, that we like something, and that is the, I feel that is the source expression of Cancer, that it's the consciousness about the things that have been built in a physical, in a sensorial way, not only in those realms, of course, because we can tell that it requires an emotional investment, of a sensitive presence that makes us really integrate the fact of how important it is that we care for that investment, that we are conscious of how it makes us be as we are, and from that it's just like taking into the future, like how I would like to be, how I would like my home to be, my family, my project, my whatever, that just makes me feel so connected to source. How I want to invest emotionally into it, and that just brings something really that requires of allowing Cancer to be calm, because it is just so sensitive.
Yeah, I think that reminds me of something else, because you speak about this investment and investing in what you want your future to look like, and what happens often while we do that is we start creating attachments. We start then holding on and gripping, and I think that's also a Cancerian energy, that is kind of this like clawing yourself onto something and wanting to retreat into that shell, wanting that shell to always be the same, finding comfort in the known. But surprise, surprise, life keeps changing. Life is like one big change. It's one big experience of change, and I think that's a key to unlocking a deeper layer of this energy, and of its gift, of tapping into the gifts that it holds, is when we learn to, after investing all of that, to learn to let it go. Let go of the attachment, and just allow things to be constantly flowing. We come back to this water archetype, and I think we can also see that with birth, and there is a lot of like this typical caretaker picture that maybe not wants the child to grow up, and maybe the child doesn't want to grow up either, but the child will grow up, and how we cling to that or allow that to evolve freely will change the joy of perceiving it.
And that complementary energy is what we can see in the zodiac wheel. That energy that needs to be cared for, that softness, is Cancer, but the house that we take in our backs, to be said, is Capricorn.
I wasn't finished yet with what I wanted to say, because what I just mentioned about letting go and the importance of that is also shown to us in the mythology. Because we haven't talked about the mythology at all, and due to the time, I think we're not gonna get super deep into it. But one of the ways that we've loved exploring the archetypes is through mythology, or exploring any archetype in life, not just astrology, but literally any energies, through stories, through mythology, through fairy tales, through old tales. And the one that connects with Cancer that we love. One of the, I mean, I love it the most. I don't know how you feel, but it is a great story, and it's the story of Hercules on the fourth labor journey, being given the task to search and seize a doe, the animal, a doe, and goes on a quest where he keeps finding or he keeps having glimpses of the doe, but not being able to seize it. It takes him a very long time, like 2 or 3 years, and then finally able to seize the doe. But also in the story, two Greek goddess figures then appear to him, which are Diana and Artemis, and both proclaim to own the doe. But then a third deity, which is Apollo, is kind of a higher speaking voice, and states that actually none of them own this doe. And one important aspect of the story is that he seizes the doe, but he also carries it close to his heart, is what has been written. He like holds it in his arms, carries it close to his heart. And his quest includes bringing it to a temple, to the holy place, as they called it. And once he brings it there to this holy place, it's kind of like almost dying because he hit it with an arrow. And then all of them continue like going into this quarrel about who owns the doe. Hercules is like, it's mine, I caught it. Artemis is like, no, it's mine. Diana is like, no, it's mine. And in the story, they're all representing different parts of these archetypes, of the instinct, of the intellect, and of the intuition. And ultimately, none of them own the doe, but they kind of all own it together in the collective space that is kind of above all of their individual spaces. But then also, as they leave the doe there, when he looks back yonder to the place, like a rising sun on a hilltop, where he initially saw the doe, the one that he brought and seized, there's yet another doe standing there, shining. So it's also kind of showing the cycle of continuation of like death and birth. And a lot of these metaphors from this mythology bring us to the deep esoteric meaning of this astrological sign being connected to overcoming the voices of merely the instinct, of merely the intellect, and of merely the intuition, but having them combined, and especially also transmuting something close to your heart, infusing it with love, but essentially needing to let it go, right? Because no one owns this doe, no one owns this essence. Neither does Hercules.
But everyone cares for the venture that is close to its heart. We got Hercules that is looking to go into its task. We got Artemis that is the moon goddess. So she reclaims because I'm just observing it all the time. Like I can tell what are the emotional experiences of the doe as well. And then is Diana, which is the daughter of Apollo, is the huntress from the heaven, So she can tell actually how the movement of a doe belongs to the earth, to the experience, But anyhow, it's all of those ways of caring for the venture, of being part of something, of caring for something.
It's like on Earth. It's like here we have this collective natural landscape, and who owns it? We assign our homes to places and to territories, and we assign also our houses to streets, and pay rent to live there, and we buy properties, but essentially no one owns this because it's a body living, and we are all relating to it. We're all part of it. We're all here, and it belongs to all of us, and neither of us at the same time.
At the end of the story, looks like the doe may die. It's coming back to source. Yeah, and then we have another doe that is there at the heel. It's coming back to source, so to keep being care within the experience of like caring for what is important. Yeah, the form transmutes. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have also like the ruler of the Cancer sign is the moon, which is really a symbol for fluctuation, for movement, for cyclical body. But that's the exoteric ruler of Cancer, the exoteric ruling planet.
External.
Yeah, kind of the external, the outwards. But then we also have an esoteric planetary ruler, which is then the planet of Neptune. And Neptune is also said to, I mean, Neptune is the big ocean, yeah, kind of really connecting to the collective, psychological, spiritual realm. It's like the collective spiritual experience, yeah. And it's also said to be the higher octave of Venus, so the higher octave of love at a higher frequency, which is an all-encompassing love, which is a universal love. So it's about universal intuition, and it's also brings me back to what we mentioned earlier about this kind of hive mind experience of Cancer energy. Why is it so intuitive? Because it's so connected to a collective experience. It's connected to a collective truth, to a collective sensing, to a collective home.
And what is it? That's what intuition provides. Yeah, a realization. Yeah, of being within a whole. Yeah, I like this linguistic connection that in German, See is a lagoon, but also sea is the sea, isn't it? Yeah, that is knowing that all of the waters are connected. Yeah, like there is a same source.
Okay, you mean see, the German word see, it means lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, but actually lagoon doesn't mean lake in German. But we have another word for that, which is Lagune. But it's a lake, but it's also the sea, like as in the ocean. Yeah.
So it's the same.
But also See, it also is really similar to Sehen, which means seeing, and we have the same in English, the sea, and seeing. It's spelled with an E instead of an A, but it's the sea, and I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a different way of perceiving from a collective emotional experience. Yeah.
When we look into the sky, looking for the constellation of Cancer, we can tell that it is not so easy to perceive. It doesn't have really bright stars. Yeah, and that takes us into this conception, this really sensitive conception of what Cancer is, because somehow it's hidden in the sky. So the only way in which we can really tell how it is by feeling it.
I mean, nevertheless, it's there, and it may not be hidden at all from a different perspective. Like if you were closer to it, maybe, or if you were somehow on the other side of the universe looking at it from a different point of view, maybe you would also see it differently. But at least from the perspective that we have, it seems to be not so shining so brightly. It's more nocturnal.
Yeah.
And it's more connected with the dream realm.
Yeah.
Which is also, the nighttime is kind of a time of rejuvenation. It's a time of rebirthing our energetic batteries. Yeah. A time of rebirthing our sensorial ability to like move and to be and to create. And also a time of inspiration. So it's also that, moon time that we have in the night while we're sleeping, where we tap into that collective subconscious realm and gather and recycle and cleanse also. I don't know about anybody else, but if you ever like shower in your dreams, that's a huge emotional
purification.
action of cleansing your emotions and working your body, like your mind kind of working through your your experiences, and it's showing up like that as a symbol means that you're cleaning, you're processing, and you're focusing on emotions. I also want to remind us all that all things are dual, and we also have both gifts of a sign and also things that may come as a challenge. And no sign is only one or the other. We don't have any sign in the zodiac that brings an energy that is always only good. And it's not about being good or bad, as in a sense of being good or evil, or of being malicious, or of being somehow one better than the other. It's simply about kind of like the different impact that an energy can have depending on how you use it. It can always kind of go either like this or like that. And both of these experiences may be the better experience for different individuals. For one person, they may need to seclude themselves more. Another individual may need to seclude themselves a little bit less to experience emotional growth, to experience personal development. But yeah, I feel that Cancer a lot of the time in like classical astrology gets a kind of a negative reputation because of being so emotional and sensitive and moody. And I don't understand this at all, because being so intuitive and so sensitive doesn't mean that somehow you're not able to handle life. It just means that you have a really deeply developed intuition and sensorial perception, and that is really amazing in many, many ways and can be utilized. At the same time, it's also necessary to understand how can we develop past the challenges that we may be experiencing. When we are in contact with things like that, when we do feel it as overwhelming, when we do want to go and hide back into our little shells all the time, but we feel that it's somehow limiting us, then that's the moment to kind of activate that intention of developing our higher way of using these gifts and developing our kind of the shadow aspects of a sign. Each sign has like light and shadow aspects.
And one allows the other to move. The shadow and the light.
I feel like we've covered a lot about Cancer. I'm not sure, like, I feel like we could also keep talking about this kind of incarnation point that Cancer is and the polarity that is Capricorn, but I do feel like we will get to that maybe in the video about Capricorn.
Or maybe in a between video that we want to make.
An in-between video. Let us know if you would like an in-between video about also the crosses, like the cardinal cross, the fixed cross energy, the mutable crosses that are really interesting. I think we've covered most of the
we can go as deep on anything that we want, but I feel that
most of the things that felt close to my heart.
That's what it's about.
Did we cover things that are close to your heart as well?
I've been feeling it really close to my heart. With all of the duality that Cancer can be, which is the actual experience.
Cancer is a really beautiful, creative energy. Really, bringing us the gift of birth, essentially, with all of its facets. And I personally love this idea of Cancer challenging us to unfold our higher love, our higher unconditional love, our ability to love, and that influencing and guiding our physical earthly experience, and allowing us to also explore that side to side perspective. And I do want to mention that this coming to Earth has a very negative connection sometimes. There are a lot of people who don't feel so at ease on Earth. There are a lot of people who see it as a punishment, as a fall, as a something we should get out of. And I do see it as an opportunity and as something beautiful to be explored, something that was chosen to be experienced. And Cancer is seen as, you know, the summer solstice moment, as one of the gates of the sun, being a gate of Earth, being a gate of the spirit to Earth, and then Capricorn being a gate back to the heavens. So it's about creating spiritual insight and earthly insight. And it's important to cultivate that earthly insight because they are both necessary and they are nourishing each other. And they are also both part of the same existence.
Yeah, as we care for the root, we care for the seed. Because anyway, when the tree, when life is flourishing and gives a seed, the seed is gonna come back into the darkness to grow again and become another tree. Yeah,
and depending on how we nourish things is gonna make a big impact and make a big difference. And I hope that this video nourished you. Definitely nourished me. And I hope it nourished you as well.
It's nourishing.
Yeah. I hope that you feel a deeper sense of love for your body, that you feel a deeper sense of gratitude for water and for the gift of birth, the gift of life. And if you're willing to explore your own body through the planets, you can contact us if you want a little guidance. We're open to support, we're open for consultations, for readings. You can also join us on Telegram. We'll leave all of the information down below. We're going to be continuing this video series soon, and yeah, we hope that you stick around and feel inspired and share all of your beautiful insights with us in the comments, or share them with your friends. Keep inspiring the world. Any last words?
May joy be the nourishment seed for the tree that we are becoming. Thank you so much.
See you next time, and goodbye.
Goodbye.